Hotepu gatekeepers and shamans all, let's discuss dreaming. Dreaming is a very important feature of spiritual work, because when you dream, the conscious mind is, shall we say, knocked out, and the subconscious mind, or the metaphysical mind, becomes dominant. And so dreams have several functions. Dreams are used to help you process just the daily events of your diurnal arc. Dreams are used to have your body work things out that it's storing or holding in terms of emotional stressors or issues. And on the deeper levels, dreams are tools of communicating with the archetypal realm, the spiritual realm, where you can get feedback from that realm about your goals and your ambitions. So if you're planning to build a new school or start a new relationship, and you intend the dreaming spirits to give you guidance, they will. And they will give you a feedback that lets you know what they think about what you're trying to do and the quality and status of the progress of what you're trying to create. So they're kind of these check-in points with your deeper mind. Then we come to the highest purpose of dreaming, and that is for you to prepare for eternal life, for the afterlife. The dreaming arts at their highest levels are really preparatory exercises for the afterlife experience and the reincarnation process. And it's that function that we're going to use these free worldwide initiations to all gay men around the world to begin to tap into their dreaming. Because when you go deep into your dreaming, you contact the source of your life. There are tiers of beings or planes in the dream time. And the afterlife experience, what happens at so-called death, is that the only thing that you lose is your physical body. You have 9 spiritual bodies. And at what we call the end of life, all that's happening actually is you're shedding one of 9 bodies, the physical one. It returns to dust from whence it came. But there are 8 other sides of you that are still existing, that are alive and kicking. And so each of these bodies will go to a certain spiritual realm to find a new home, to set up shop. And if you don't prepare for this, if you don't build a home there, you don't store food there in the spirit world, you don't begin to make friends in that spirit world, at so-called death, you'll get there on the other side, and there'll be no place for you to stay. You'll know no one there. You'll have no friends. You'll have no food. You'll have no shelter. And so it becomes a big struggle to survive on the inner planes. So the same place you go to every night you dream is the same place you go to in the afterlife. And most people don't get to see that level of dreams until they clean their bodies up, because many times dreaming helps the body to regenerate. Just the energy of living gets recharged from the dreaming time. But once you get past that recharging process, which we teach in our workshops, through 12 motions, you can do 12 dance movements. These 12 movements help you to accelerate the charging process of sleep, so you have more time for the astral projection process of sleep. First, your body's got to get refreshed before you can do the more fancy work of astral travel and dream work and dream travel. So we have these dance movements that when you do them, accelerate the regenerating side of sleep. So the bottom line is we all must enter the West, what we call Westing, or translation. We all must go to the afterlife at some point. And you want to prepare for that. You don't go on a trip from here to, let's say, around the world without preparing. You book a hotel, you get the tickets, you get an itinerary, you do all this preparatory work to make sure when you land, you have a place to stay, you have food to eat, you get access to your money, you know who to speak to. It's the same thing in the afterlife. This is why the Kemau took it with them to the grave. They took a lot of things with them to their tombs, because the things you carry into your tomb were actually physical mirrors of an astral double of that same thing in the spirit world. So, when a person passed in ancient Egypt and they filled their tomb with all these items, beds and loaves of bread and jewelry and statues and all these things, what happened is that the double, or the astral equivalent, the mirror spirit of that bed, those loaves of bread, that statue, would appear or arrive in the dream world, in the afterlife world. They were furnishing their houses of the afterlife. So the furniture in the actual tomb on earth is simply a lower vibratory mirror of the same furnishings, foods, and statues, etc., that have now crossed their ka, or the spirit of the furniture, into the other world. This is the understanding of the Kamau. You have to prepare for a trip before you leave for a trip, and we all must prepare for the afterlife trip. Okay, so you're going to all have to face this at some point. And one of the greatest things in spirituality is to remove the fear of death. The fear of death, that this is only one life I have to live and I've got to make the most of it, can compel you to some very neurotic and dangerous and crazy behavior while alive. There's no sense of karma or retribution or consequence with that kind of philosophy, so-called philosophy. But I guarantee you, you have 9 spirit bodies, 1 is physical, the other 8 will survive, and they're going to be alive, and they're going to need food, shelter, friends, love, and all the things you need on earth. And each body has a certain maximal time period where it has a lifespan. For example, your physical body nowadays has a more or less general lifespan of 80 to 100 years old, let's say. So each of these 9 spirit bodies has a basic range of survivability. So while that your aura or your soul or your spirit mind or your divine spark, you want to make sure they each have lovely homes, lovely accommodations. So I recommend you follow these free initiations on this YouTube channel and learn how to prepare for the inevitable, to not be afraid, to not worry, but to be wise and smart and plan for your trip to the world beyond. And if you do that planning now, your dreams will help you while alive. They'll give you a lot of information, tell you who's trying to hurt you, who are your enemies, where you'll find success, who to call, who not to call, who to date, who not to date. You get a lot of really wonderful information from your dreams, because there's this whole inner spiritual library, this whole board in the office, this team you have that is trying to help you, trying to give you their angle on what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm telling you, once you get used to this, you will start foreseeing a lot of things in your life. You will see a lot of people in your life who are fake and two-faced and evil for what they are, because their true form will appear in the dream time. Okay, so that's the introduction to dreaming and why you should do it, in order for you to check in with your goals and get feedback of help and enemies and the status of your project, on the higher level to become a divine being, an immortal being in the afterlife. And that's what the screenshot you have here is focusing on. what's going to happen in this process of these worldwide dream initiations is you're going to get every 10 days one of these images, what's called a tableau or a plate. And this is from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Book of Going Forth by Day by Raymond Faulkner. That was Dr. Raymond Faulkner. And it's an oversized book, and it has all of the Egyptian images, like on the screen here, in the book. And we're going to go through one screen image or one chapter of the book or a plate every 10 days. Now, here's the easy part. All you have to do in order to wake up your dreaming spirit, to become a person that can become an astral projection expert, to become able to have lucid dreams, you have to start with the first deity we call Amun, which means intent. You have to intend it. You have to want to do it. So on the screen here we have a picture, which is the very first screenshot of the chapter of Ani. And here we see this man named Ani, whose book this is. It's his namesake. And Ani is shown on his way to the afterlife. No, let me be clear about afterlife. Afterlife does not simply mean the death state. It means your meditational life. Whenever you zone out or you blank out, you notice that you kind of die to the outside world, like you're driving somewhere and you've driven maybe a half a mile, not realizing that you had just driven that distance. You were kind of zoning out or thinking about something else and your mind was wandering. Your mind actually became, quote unquote, dead to external stimulus. So the sleep state is not just sleeping at night, but when you zone out and blank out and space out, you're in a kind of waking sleep. You see? So, and in that moment, you're programming something into your mind. Whatever you're thinking is taking root. So here we have him not only preparing for the afterlife state, but he's learning how to dream at night and meditate while sleeping. This book, called the Book of the Dead, can also be called the Book of Dreaming, the Book of Initiation through Dreaming, no less direct and impactful than the Tibetan Book of the Dead and their dream manuals. So here we have Ani, which would be you, and all you have to do is try to, and I know the document is a bit damaged, but that's okay. Your subconscious mind will understand the intent. Try to recreate this scene in this little square. Here we have, we're going to call this for the gay community, Ani and his best friend, a drag queen, who is shown here with kabuki-like makeup on her skin. No, she is not a white woman. She is an Egyptian, but in Egyptian iconography, in books of the dead, oftentimes the female figure would paint herself in kabuki-like white makeup, saying that she is no longer giving birth to things of the physical world, but to things of the spiritual world. It was theatrical makeup that was worn as initiatic mystery. So we have Ani, and he is about to go into the dream state. So this first scene in this little square here represents you beginning your first night, which hopefully will be tonight, of trying to dream. Now what do? What you have to do is simply study this image carefully. Notice the little tree here, the double-legged table, this plant up here with little buds on it, two white blooms up top here, this checkered tabletop with little piles of cake offerings and bread. Here we have two haunches of a bull. Here we have two cakes here with more food offerings and food with grains and grape-like shapes here, and then these kind of offerings that are triangular sticking up, these white offerings. Try your best. I know it's a damaged image, but that's okay. To look at the image and then close your eyes and say this phrase, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? And then reproduce the image in exact detail. Your first lesson is to learn to focus an image and make it not move. Images, when you begin dreaming arts, will try to take different shapes, get bigger, get smaller, fly away, do cartwheels. That means you're not able to focus your mind. You're not able to concentrate. And whenever you are doing anything of importance, you have to be able to concentrate. And so what's happening in the gay community is a lot of the gay men and young gay boys are not training their minds. Many gay boys go to the gym to train their muscles and to tame the muscles' development, but not tame the mind. And if you tame your mind, you can make your muscles do all kinds of things they couldn't do under a weak mind. So what I'm simply saying is try to just take one part of these composite images and recreate it in your mind. So let's take this little table stand, these two legs. They're kind of golden with little 4 lines. And you close your eyes, you try to visualize those 2 legs of the table and make it stick. Make it not move. Then see the lobes and the details, and little by little, for the next 10 days, because in 10 days we'll change off this image to the next one, try your best. See his robes here. His hands up. He's looking forward. His robes have a slight gilt to them. Okay? You can, for this purpose, not focus on this figure. Just focus on Ani, the male figure. Okay, so really from this square to behind him and in front of him. That will be sufficient. He's wearing armlets. Okay? And do your best just to lay down before you go to sleep and say, let me try to image that picture of Ani at the offering tables of the dream space, the dream time. Okay, there were 2 golden legs, and there was a flower in the middle of them here, and there was a checkered tabletop and some cakes piled up, and I had 3 of these piles of bread here and 2 haunches. And just try to remember the haunches had a little white spot on them, a white triangle. And slowly build the mental image while you're laying in bed. Build his clothing until it locks, until you're able to do it very easily. And you will just by willing yourself to do so. And then slowly your dreaming eye, we call the ujat, will become strengthened. I'm basically coaching you the way I would coach someone who's learning how to lift weights. You must repeat the exercise, and you want to build more and more details through each of the 10 days you have for this one image. You only have 10 days, and then it will be gone for the whole year. We won't come back to this until basically January 4th, 2016 and 2017. These images are date locked. And as you keep exercising and trying and trying and trying, you will develop your mental visual muscle. And eventually, the dream details will speak to you. They will actually talk to you, give you counsel and information. But these dream spirits don't trust humans because humans have been so rude to them and saying dreams aren't real, we should ignore them. So at first, the dream spirits will be resistant. Maybe the first 2 days, maybe 3. Depends upon your level of health. If you're more vegetarian, which I recommend highly with high nutraceuticals and vitamins, you will tend to dream quicker. Okay? But they have to get to trust you, the dream spirits, that you really want to know their world. You want to be a guest in their realm with dignity and protocol, and not some rude person insulting them. And as you do that, they're going to become more apt to help you and to work with you. So it's a learning curve. It's a time arc we must accept. But we have 1 year to do all this, starting from now, which will repeat in a year, and then a year after that, over and over and over, and I guarantee you, you'll get it. Just trust and intend that you will get it. Okay? So, that really is the exercise. It's that simple. Simply every night, and be consistent, every night, try to recreate the image in your mind. And then when you're able to recreate it, try to feel it. If you're looking at the plant, try to smell these little white lotus buds. Try to smell the bread on here. You see? Try to smell the incense. Smell the grapes here. And begin to use your 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing in all this. Feel the cloth of Ani's robes on his body. Feel the pride he must be experiencing being able to be conscious in the meditational state or the dream state or the death state. They're all the same state. And in many religions, not the Christian ones or not the Western religions, but in, for example, Buddhism and in Hinduism, they teach you what's called one-pointedness, one-pointed mindfulness, meaning how to concentrate. And they have their techniques of teaching that. The Buddhist way have you meditate, basically zazen pose or things of that sort. Ours is to have you learn how to sleep and see pictures while sleeping. And you will eventually see the picture comes to life while you're sleeping. You will wake back up inside the image. And as you're looking at the tree here, little type pine tree, meaning immortality, and these little details, they'll start talking to you, and you'll have a dialogue in the dream world. You are now in lucid dream state. Okay? So remember, as we conclude, the Egyptian Book of the Dead is a book of dreaming. It was a manual for training the black Africans of Kemet in how to die to the external senses, meaning sleeping, because at sleep you're kind of in a kind of death state to external sense input, and to wake up again while sleeping. The Book of the Dead is the book of lucid dreaming. That's a far better translation of the book. The book of lucid dreaming, the book of wakeful meditation. Okay? And that's it. Do it every night, starting tonight, little by little. Give yourself time to learn, but keep chipping daily. Small, small strokes will get you across the ocean of consciousness. So practice, 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 and practice some more. Be well. Dwawa and Hutuapo.